Left side, right side. In humans, they're different, right? Because in humans, the left side has some extra swellings. And they don't show it. There's a big, nice swelling here, but not on this side. You can kind of see they're different, but they're obviously different. So you have to recognize left versus right. Also on the left side, there's a swelling here that doesn't exist here. See, that's kind of smooth, but here it's swollen up. So these two swellings, the one here and the one there, are very important in humans. What's the one here called? Wernicke's area. Very good. And what's the one here called? Broca's area. So, better know these. This sulcus, you can see it on both of them. It's more obvious on this one to me. Central sulcus. That makes this the precentral gyrus. This swelling, mountain range, call it what you want. And this the postcentral gyrus. The precentral gyrus is responsible for motor function to the hands and face, and to the rest of the body, but primarily to the hands and face. Whereas the postcentral gyrus is responsible for sensory from the hands and face, and the rest of the body. So when you think hands and face, these two areas are super important. Precentral and postcentral gyrus. This is the frontal lobe all the way to the central sulcus. This is the parietal lobe all the way down to the lateral sulcus and back around. It just touches Wernicke's area. So it's kind of like this gray area here, plus the blue. This pink area is the occipital lobe. It's responsible for vision. And this yellow area is the temporal lobe. It's responsible for hearing and balance. This area down here is the prefrontal region of the frontal lobe, and it's responsible for cognition. This is where you do your thinking, right? Broca's area helps you form words from your thoughts. And Wernicke's area helps you synthesize, like an orchestra, what you are hearing, seeing, and feeling all into one, which constitutes a thought. And it fires it across to Broca's, and Broca says that thought. Isn't that neat? They make a lot more sense if you know what they're doing than just to memorize them. This is the cerebellum. And of course, between the two lobes is the longitudinal fissure, right? That cavity, but it's hard to ask a fissure. All right, then we're going to ask some inside now. I'll leave these exposed so I can refer to them, because I could use one of these. If I'm using one like this one for a station, then I can use this one on another station, or this, you see, so we'll leave them exposed so we can point stuff out. I really like Headman. I wish we had 4 or 5 of them. We've got 3 or 4 over there, but they're all less than best, so I use this one. You already know the muscles. This is the parotid salivary gland, and this is the duct of the parotid salivary gland. I love asking ducts, so get all your ducks in a row, right? Make sure you know all your ducks. This one is your submandibular salivary gland. So here's your parotid, submandibular. And the sublingual we'll see on a different model coming up. Generally what we do, we may ask this, but generally what we do is flip it over to this side and ask questions on this side. And there's a lot of stuff that we can potentially ask. We start with the outermost white line. That white line on the outside right here, not this is the skull, right? That's the cranium. This white line here is the dura mater. This purple line is the arachnoid mater. And then this white line on the inside is the pia mater. So you remember those three meninges? You can also see them down here. Dura mater, arachnoid mater, and the pia mater is so closely oppressed to the spinal cord, this being the spinal cord, that you can't separate it out, right? Has to do with all this gray matter here. This really is gray matter, although it's drawn in as pink. And of course, these are the major blood vessels. This is a cerebral artery. This region is known as the neocortex. This outer layer from here to here, neocortex. And notice it wraps all around, here to here, all the way back. This layer here, from here to here, here to here, see that layer? It's called the cingulate gyrus, spelled with a letter C. You probably saw it on your test today, right? Mm-hmm. Cingulate gyrus. It's part of the limbic cortex and works with the amygdala and the hippocampus to control your emotions like love and hate. You can see if you look in here, you can see this. This is the amygdala right here, sticking out like a thumb. And the hippocampus is right here. I usually don't ask them, but just in case you want to know. So when you're looking at, that's why I like these models. I don't like these that much because you lose perspective. But here, it's sticking out, you can see here. That's the amygdala. When you take psychology, you'll talk about that, love and hate. And then this is the hippocampus back here. And they work, of course, if you follow them around, look, if you could peel all this off, and you follow it around, you can see cingulate gyrus with hippocampus back here to the amygdala. So they're all connected, forming a big C with the tip of your thumb being the amygdala, this being the hippocampus, and this being the cingulate gyrus, which is where they get that C from, right? C shape. C for cingulate, you've got it. Now, it's hard to ask some of these questions, as you might guess, but I like throwing it all in so that you feel like you're getting to know the anatomy in more detail. This white matter here is called the corpus callosum. You can see it here. Massive area, it's not even white right here, see? Massive area of white matter that connects the cerebrum to the thalamus, to the cerebral peduncles, which we're going to see later, right? This region here is known as the septum pellucidum. Thank you. This is the window between the left and the right lateral ventricles. You have a ventricle inside your left hemisphere and a ventricle inside your right hemisphere. They both drain into this, the third ventricle. But between the two ventricles there is a membrane that separates them, and that's the septum pellucidum, right here, number 8. You can see it here, it's unnumbered. this little bit of white matter here is known as the fornix. That's where the word fornicate comes from. So it has to do with the limbic system. And then this cavity right here is the third ventricle, as we mentioned. You can see it right here.